guys, it's me again. How are y'all doing tonight? So let me know when you're joining. Comment below what you're making for dinner tonight. I thought I would share with you an old South African recipe that my mom used to make all the time. Hi Peggy, how are you? What are you cooking for dinner tonight? Let me know. So I'm going to show you guys, this is an old South African recipe. We call it Bobotie. It's pronounced Bobotie, but we like to say Bobotie because it sounds funny. Bobotie. And it's an old South African recipe. I don't know if you've heard of it. I don't know if you even know. Hey Jill, but I am originally from South Africa. That is where my family is from. And I make this recipe, Bobotie, quite a lot. My mom used to make it. It comes in this, it's called the Royal Hostess South African Cookbook. So anyway, it's a real recipe. I didn't make it up. My mom didn't make it up. So anyway, so what I'm going to be making it in the rock crock everyday pan. But obviously, there wasn't a rock crock everyday pan back in the day. You're intended to like cook the meat and the onions, make it, and then you put it in a casserole dish. So anyway, I got the rock crock heating up. What I like about the rock crock is I don't have to do it in two separate bowls. Peggy's having tilapia. Oh, I love fish. So obviously I'm vegetarian, well, pescatarian, so I don't eat this, but I'm gonna cook it for my family. I used to eat it back in the day. All right, so to start with, you need 2 medium or small onions, or I have one big giant onion, and I just sliced them in half. So you're just gonna put your onions in here to start cooking. So this recipe is made with ground beef. I've never made it with anything else. Hey Lisa, today I am making an old South African recipe called Bobotie. It's actually called Bobotie, but we pronounce it Bobotie because we think it sounds cuter that way. And if you Google the recipe, you'll find different versions of it. Some of them have raisins or sultanas. Those are those yellow raisins. This particular South African recipe does not have that. But if you like curry flavored things, it's got curry powder in it, then I think you would really like it. So far I just got some onions sauteing. You want to sweat them out. And while that's doing that, I'm going to talk about the rest of the ingredients. Because it's kind of a weird bunch of ingredients. All right, so we need a tablespoon of vinegar. The recipe doesn't specify what kind of vinegar. I have used all sorts today. I just happen to have apple cider vinegar. We need 1 tablespoon of curry powder. I buy my curry powder in bulk in HEB. The little jars of curry powder are really, really expensive, and they don't really have any flavor. The curry powder you buy in bulk is super, super cheap and way more flavorful. We also need 1 tablespoon of sugar. I know that sounds weird. We need a big hunk of bread. The recipe calls for 1 thick slice, but this is from the 1960s, and in South Africa back then you didn't buy sliced bread, so you would cut it thick. So I got a thick chunk of bread. You need 2 eggs, and you need some milk. Interesting ingredients, right? Y'all let me know what you think of this so far. I'm telling you, if you like curry and you like to try different things and you have ground beef, I say why not give it a try, right? All right, now I'm going to add the ground beef to those onions. I'm sorry for the crazy angle, but you can't see my stove if I do it where I usually do it. Anyway, I got, this is about 1.5 pounds, maybe, of ground beef. The recipe does call for 2 pounds of ground beef, but that's all right. I don't have it. I'm just going to use my mix and chop here to break it up. There you go. And it'll all just cook down. Now, we don't have to crumble the ground beef like you would for spaghetti sauce or for tacos, but I do just kind of like get it started this way. There's no need to crumble it like that because it's going to get all cooked together in a casserole form. I like to call this like a South African meat loaf. Hey Sherry, how are you doing? What are you cooking for dinner tonight? What else do I have? And Hey, Ann, and who else? And Leanne. Hey, ladies, what are y'all cooking for dinner tonight? I wanted to share with you an old South African recipe. All right, that's probably good enough. Okay, so we're just gonna let that cook a little bit. While that's cooking, I'm gonna get the eggs started. All right, so in my batter bowl, I need to rip up this big hunk of bread. So I have made this recipe with lots of different bread options. I've used 2 slices of regular sandwich type bread. I had this, so I'm just gonna use this one. So all you do is just tear it up and put it in your bowl. Like this. This is a little stale, so stale is actually good. So Leanne is having taco soup. Yummy, that sounds really good. All right, so we're gonna get this bread broken up, and then to it I'm gonna add 1 1/4 cups of milk. So this is 2%, it doesn't really matter. I wouldn't use anything less than 2%, but if you had whole, that's fine too. We're gonna add the milk, and your bread is just gonna soak up the milk. So you're gonna wanna kind of mash it. You can use a fork. I just happen to have our mini whipper. We brought this back out, thank goodness. So I'm just gonna kind of mash it down with that. And that's just gonna soak up the milk. Sit in there for a while we continue to cook the onions and the ground beef. So for those just joining me, I'm making a South African recipe called Bobotie. My family is originally from South Africa. I was actually born there, although I have lived my entire life right here in good old Houston, Texas. All right, the oven is on, preheat to 350, by the way. So now that this is kind of cooked down a little bit, I used 90-10, so I don't really have to drain it. If you're using anything less than that, you're gonna probably wanna drain it. All right. Now to this, I'm going to go ahead and add the vinegar. So it's 1 tablespoon of vinegar. Like I said, it didn't specify what kind, it just said vinegar. I suppose back in the early 60s, there wasn't all the choices of vinegar that we have now. Sometimes, you know, we just have too many choices, right? All right, and then the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of curry powder. Now the curry powder in South Africa is much different than the curry powder we get here. It's spicier. So I'm adding 3 tablespoons. My family, we are curry people. So 3 tablespoons of the curry powder. So I was saying earlier to buy it in bulk. If you like to eat curry powder like we do, buy it in bulk. This was a big bag. Oh, it's ripped off, you can't see it. Anyway, super cheap to buy it in bulk in the H-E-B, in that bulk section, versus buying it in the spice aisle. All right, so we got that. I'm just gonna stick that in there to get all the curry powder off. I don't wanna waste it. Okay, and then we need a tablespoon of sugar added to it as well. All right, let me grab another tablespoon. I don't wanna put that in my sugar. That wouldn't be very good. What do I got here? Here, we'll use. Look at my big air fryer right here, people. I don't have room in my little kitchen to put it anywhere. All right, sugar. So we need a tablespoon of sugar. This is a half tablespoon, so we'll put that in there. All right, and then some salt. Okay, some salt. I got my salt right here. All right. I am not using cast iron. Good question. This is actually the Rock Everyday Pan. What I like about using the Rock Everyday Pan is I won't have to transfer it into a casserole dish. Typically, you have to transfer this into a. If I was just using this in a skillet, you'd have to transfer it into the casserole dish. Since this can go into the oven, I am good to go with just this 1 piece of cookware. So I love that. Okay, you just want to mix all this together. It does cook in the oven for 30 to 40 minutes, so all the onions will continue to cook down and the meat will continue cooking, although it's all pretty much brown. So you just want all of the seasonings mixed together. Now let's finish with this bread stuff we got right here. All right, so now I want to very carefully See, the bread is soaked up some of the milk. So now I'm going to drain it in here. And that's weird, 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 right? So we're going to drain the milk off as much as we can. Okay. There you go. So you want to drain off the milk, and you want to have about 3/4 of a cup, which I actually have. So there you go. I did that perfectly. So I got 3/4 of a cup of milk right here. Now I want to beat 1 egg. So I'm just going to use my prep bowl. All right. This little mini whipper comes out, it comes in so handy. I'm going to beat the egg, and I'm going to add it to there you go. I'm going to add that to the bread. Stir it around, and I'm going to add this to that. So, what do y'all think about this recipe so far? Weird? Let me know, but let me know your thoughts. You know, you never know what it tastes like unless you try it. But all right, so now we're just going to add this bread and the egg mixture into the ground beef and the onions. And we're going to stir all that around to get it all mixed into it. I like to call this like a South African meatloaf kind of a thing. All right, there we go. And we're almost done here, people. I like this recipe because it's just really quick, really easy. You really can't go wrong with it. All right, so the next thing to do is, I'm just gonna turn off my burner. We don't need that on anymore. So the next step is to crack the other egg and whisk it around. Okay. So the prep bowls are super duper handy with my little mini whipper. And we're going to add that to the milk that we reserved, that 3/4 of a cup of milk. Continue whisking. And then this, we're just going to pour on the top. We're not going to stir it around. We're just pouring it on the top. So it's kind of like a custard, if you will. And now I'm going to, I forgot to get the butter and the salt and pepper. All right, I'll do the butter later when y'all aren't watching. But so add some pepper to the top of it. And then I'm just going to dot along the top, just tiny little pieces of butter. Just put the butter on top. I'm going to put it into my oven for about 30 to 40 minutes. No need to put the lid on, although the rock crocks do come with the lid. I won't need the lid. So just put that into the oven, and it's going to cook for 30 to 40 minutes. It kind of forms like a custardy layer on the top. I know it sounds really weird, but honest, you should try it sometime. It's a super easy recipe. I serve this with rice and peas. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope I didn't scare you with this recipe, but I want you to try it if you're brave and if you like curry flavored things. All right, y'all have a wonderful night. Bye.